Money on my mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back at it again with another bag talk for you. So today we're going to talk about going fully invested versus the traditional finance roadmap, the TradFi roadmap. Now, you know, we have there's a lot of gurus in the space. I don't consider myself a guru, as this is not financial advice and I am just tracking my financial journey. But there's a lot of stuff that I started off listening to that, you know, you go down the rabbit hole on and you just swear by, such as like the Dave Ramsey plan. You got Robert Kiyosaki, all the spawns of Dave Ramsey and the Kiyosaki ideologies. One thing I'll give Kiyosaki credit for is he will update his plans and strategies to stay relevant. So we'll give him that. But there's just a lot of, oh, you've got to do it this way. And then it's like, you know, if you actually do the deep math on it, if you don't want to work until you're 60, and that's my other primary issue with most of the gurus, is everything revolves around you working until 60. And in the current state of the workspace, the business owners that we have, the corporations that we're supposed to go grind and be resources for, I am not a fan of that. And I read a very interesting quote actually today before I recorded this video. And it goes, "Those who seek the truth know that something's wrong and they're searching for it." And, you know, I've worked my whole life. I started working at 15. I'm very self-reliant, self-motivated, self-actualizing, all the things. I was a good little worker. And I can say that in my experience in the workforce, I've literally only had probably one, maybe two jobs that I've enjoyed out of all the jobs that I've had. And I am a long-term worker, so like I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I've never taken a job for less than a year. And it's just, you know, you get to a point where you realize that like you are literally just a cog. You are not a person to these people. You are something that is extracted from, something to be taken advantage of, something to be a part of their fiefdom, to make them feel better and to help them achieve their dreams. But there's not a reciprocation there because they don't want you to achieve your dreams, because generally speaking, that involves them not getting what they want out of you, which is them to continue to live their cushy lives on their fat tushes. And not only that, they do on a certain level think that they're better than you. So there's that too. And one of the things that always hit me and I always found demotivating was the amount of time it takes to get a lot of these things started. It's like, yeah, you're going to do this for 30 years. That's a long time. That's a long time to go, I'm going to have to go into this job that I hate for 30 years. What life are you going to have after 30 years of getting your soul beat on? What existence is on the other side of that? Like, oh, and then I'm going to go sit on the beach. You wonder why people tend to expire shortly thereafter when they retire. It's because their soul has been drained. You have been extracted. You are retiring a husk. All of your dreams crushed. All of your time, your resources extracted. And the whole while, you're telling the people coming behind you that this is the thing to do so that you don't feel like an idiot. And that never set right with me. So I would start saving money. I would start getting my finances together and be like, man, I hate this job. 30 years, that's crazy talk. And it made it so that subconsciously I wasn't taking my finances seriously. I wasn't taking getting out of the matrix seriously, because I'm like, in 30 years, I'm going to be a part of this. Like you are here now. Like your soul's crushed. You're getting bounced from job. And like, You can't even work at the same job for 30 years now. Not if you want to get decent raises, because like they'll just take advantage of you. They're like, we're not giving you anything. We're not trying to get you rich. You don't get to be rich with us. We're rich. You're not rich. I'm gonna live my best life. I'm gonna have the Porsche. You're not having the Porsche. I'm going on vacation once a month. You're not going on vacation once a month. Or they'll gaslight you and ask you why you don't go on vacation once a month, like you can afford it. Like stuff doesn't cost money, because it doesn't to them, because you're a resource. You're adding into their coffers. And it makes it so that you don't take it seriously, because it seems so far off that you're like, yo, I might as well have fun today, YOLO, because you're 30 years, they're going to get you in 30 years. At some point, your soul's going to crack. You are going to break. And you're just going to be another cog, and they will have you exactly where they want you, where you're no longer trying to stand up. You're no longer trying to break free. You're tethered now. You're like, well, whatever. We're going to go with whatever they told us to do, and then I'll get to go to the beach when, you know, I'm 70 and my bones don't work, whatever. And that was never something that I could get behind. I'm just like, yo, like, I want to have at least a little inkling of me left. And I figure, you know, 16 more months. Well, actually, by the time this airs, it'll be 15 more months, because we are going to be in the month of April. So cheers to that. 15 more months. I'll still, you know, I'm still me. I'm still doing the stuff I want to do. I'm still talking how I want to talk. I'm still able to move how I want to move. A little bit sore the next day. But all in all, I'm going to have enough of me left to enjoy some life. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are pretty much upset about that, because, I mean, this is a game and there's a few different ways out of it. I'd say that there's a price for everything, but me personally, I'd rather pay that price up front and in full and be out than to pay the price later and then, you know, do the standard Dave Ramsey plan. You're not leaving this until you're 60. Not a fan of that. So I wanted to take the fully invested ideology, at least my brand of it, because like I did the math on what I'm doing, ish, not exactly what I'm doing, but close enough. What we're moving towards, going fully invested versus the traditional roadmap. Now, for those of you who are not aware, we'll break down what the traditional roadmap is. I broke this down based on if you lived in my area. I do not do these worst case scenarios in places that I don't live. Obviously, there's a couple of us in the Midwest who talk about finance, and, you know, I'm going with our prices. If you live in California, I can't help you. I literally refuse to move there, because I would never, ever get out of the matrix. Ever. And I'm not entitled to go there because the sun's out and I don't want to be depressed when it's dark outside. I'm not depressed when it's dark outside, but, you know, whatever airy-fairy excuse you use to go live in eternal serfdom because there's sun and beaches. I don't need sun and beaches. Definitely not going to go broke to be in proximity of sun and beaches. I can go there to visit, and that's great. So these numbers are specific for the areas that I'm in. I don't believe that the entire populace of the nation lives in California or New York or Miami. You know, like, you got to be able to make it work where you're at, and you got to be able to survive in that environment. And for me personally, I'd prefer to put myself in a position to where I can survive in whatever environment that I'm in before subjecting myself to being in said environment. Now, California is a no-go for me, period. I don't like the way that the state is run now. Every time I go there, it's a little bit disgusting in the places that I want to go. Like, I don't like it. So I wouldn't live there also, because I'm not going to put my tax dollars towards that. But, you know, Florida's cool. It's expensive. It's cool, and I know I can't afford to live there, so you got to build up to be able to go there and live there. But as we were saying, the traditional finance plan is you're putting away up to the company match and putting away in your 401k, obviously, because you got to work till you're 60 or 70. Maybe having a Roth, saving an additional 10% of your income, up to 10% of your income, which is the goal. So it's like if you got 5% going in the 401k, you're trying to scrape together another 5% after you pay all your bills. Now, I did some math, and I actually used a little bit of AI to help break this down and model it, because modeling stuff is hard. So I had to do some back and forth, though, because the initial answer that I got did not account for the way that we do things being fully invested, and the whole premise of being fully invested, which is your distributions from being fully invested are used to pay down the margin because you're fully invested. So you don't need to use drip or reinvestment protocols because you're investing all the time anyways. Every time you get paid, you invest all the money. You pay your bills out of your margin. The traditional sense, you pay all your bills first, take a little bit off the front end with your 401k to force yourself to save something, and hopefully you can scrape something up on the back end. And so I was like, a lot of people are like, oh, fully invested, that sounds hard. That's crazy. The market's down. People are like, hey, are you still doing this? Like, yeah, my check came in. I went sale shopping. So I'm fully invested. It's what we do. It's a lot easier when the market's down, considering the cycle that we're going through. It's like market sell-offs on Friday. So that's when I get paid. It's every 2 weeks, like clockwork. But I wanted to do the math on this to show people how you can get out of the matrix, out of the rat race, whatever you want to call it, whatever this symbiotic system that we are forced to be in is to you. I'm going to show you how to get, I'm showing you the math. This is a base math level. I input data. This is impartial. It spits it out, and it didn't want to spit it out the way that I wanted, and I had to do a tweak. So that way, if you guys use AI, which I highly recommend, you can use it effectively. And the deal is, you have to ask questions, and you have to be able to go back and forth and argue with the AI to get to the point to where you're getting the answer that you need with and giving it the data that it needs. So the two scenarios are as such. We've got two people, and I did this at peasant wages. The average African-American person's wages. Average American person with melanin's wages, which is $45,000. Apparently, you can't exist like this. The next thing that we're going to put out is the time period. So we're going from 2022 to 2026, which is now. We're going up to date from 2022. So this is 4 years. So what you can do in 4 years, comparing the traditional finance model to the fully invested model. Both of them live in the Midwest, in a city that's not super duper expensive. Both of them pay taxes, obviously. Here's where the difference is. Subject A invests in a company 401k with a match up at 5%, which is going, and this is just basic stuff. And honestly, most of you don't even use your 401ks, right? So this is actually better than what most people do with their 401k funds anyways. But this is if you just put it in a 401k that track the S&P 500, because everybody uses that as their basis of comparison. That's everybody's hurdle rate. For those of you who don't know what a hurdle rate is, that is a rate at which if you were to invest in anything else, it has to beat that. And that's the target to beat, is the S&P 500 for most people in the traditional finance world. For me, it's Bitcoin. Hurdle rate's a lot higher. And they are contributing to get that match. Subject A is also attempting to put away an additional 5% of their gross income after all expenses are paid monthly. That's the traditional finance plan. That's what most people are told to do. You just put away a little bit of money, save a little bit here, and then maybe hopefully nothing important happens. And, you just keep doing that. And when you get to 60, 70, 80, you can retire and go sit on that beach, peepaw, with your IBS and your bunions. Subject B is a member of the wolf pack, is part of the tribe, is one who is in the know, who is seeking the truth, knows something's wrong, doesn't want to be obligated to be a part of this extractionary system that we have set up, and definitely doesn't want to be a cog and not have any negotiation ability or agency in their life. Subject B has opted to go fully invested, which, as we all know over here, I'm a big advocate of. It's what I do with my money. Means they invest everything up front and then they pay all of their expenses out of their brokerage account. Now, this means you're foregoing the 401k. You're foregoing the Roth 401k. At minimum, at the onset, the only thing that I use tax advantaged accounts for are if it lowers my taxable W-2 income. I use them as tax shelters. That is it. To make sure that I look like a brokey on paper as much as possible. Now, going fully invested, obviously, you're investing everything up front and you're paying out of your margin, which means you're borrowing against your assets at a lower rate than what you would if you put everything on your credit card. We still use credit cards. We will make a video on that. And then utilizing the margin balance on their brokerage to take care of their bills. Now, Subject B's brokerage breakdown consists of, now, for this time period, we're going to make an adjustment, but this is what the goal portfolio is. 60% in BTCI, 20% in MSTR, 10% in STRC, and 10% in IBIT. What this does is it gives you a good, healthy margin balance, subject to volatility, but a good, healthy margin balance. And then on top of that, you also get the benefit of having income coming in, which is chipping away at the margin balance regularly. Both of these start in 2022 again. Now we're going to get into the numbers. Now, the CAGR is one of the things that I like to look at that's pretty important to me. CAGR is your compound annual growth rate. That's how much you're growing every month. Now, I plug these numbers in, it goes through, and it had one hiccup in which the AI thought that Subject B was using drip or reinvesting the dividends. Again, if you're fully invested, there's only a couple of times that you use drip, in my opinion. And this is my opinion. When I start a position, generally speaking, I will leave, and this is me personally, like I said, what I do with my money, up until I get $100 out of it per distribution date, I will drip it unless it's intentional that it's not hitting $100. The other caveat in which I will use drip is my cash reserve or portfolio balancing positions, such as, in my case, my STRC position, which is a cash position, and my QQQ position, which is another cash balance position / portfolio balancing position for me. Those two, I just leave on drip all the time. So they're constantly ticking up a little bit. That way, as the portfolio is growing, those are growing organically, and it'll get to a point to where hopefully I won't have to go and buy those positions every paycheck because I don't like necessarily doing that, just because they're such low payers and they're set to drip. So, it's what it is. But outside of that, since I am investing all of my money and I've got money flowing in from my W-2 while I have a W-2 regularly, there's no need for dripping outside of those two caveats. And in this case, since we're completely living out of this brokerage, even though I'm completely living out of my brokerage now, I still have my STRC position set to drip just because I want to keep that at 10%. And I don't like having to buy it all the time. And in mass, I don't like having to buy more than one share a paycheck. So it was under the assumption that I was dripping everything. And if you dripped everything and tried to live out of your brokerage and you dripped everything, the brokerage does blow up with Bitcoin volatility. So so that it's been clearly stated, yes, there is a scenario where there's probably multiple scenarios where you can blow your portfolio up, but that is one of them. You will get liquidated if you went through the bull run and then had the drawdown and you were dripping and not actually paying down the margin using the income to pay down the margin. You do not survive the drawdown. Just so you know, that's the reason I'm not an advocate for dripping. I'm like, I'd rather just invest everything and have everything go in and then work on the margin from there. Also, with the goal of whittling down your expenses to a point, because the reason that I have to use my margin right now specifically is because I have consumer debt. Specifically, if I was just paying for my house, utilities, and daily expenses as they're coming, I would not have to. I could run my portfolio flat, which means that I wouldn't have to dip into the margin at all. I could just use the cash flow that's coming in to pay stuff as needed. Something to keep in mind. And then whatever I'm not using, I then get to reinvest also, which self-perpetuates the cycle. But anyways, so we went through and I had to adjust that. And I was like, no, we're fully invested. So he's doing his whole paycheck, whatever's left after taxes. There's no drip. The other caveat here is both of these portfolios, so I wanted them to both get the same benefits. They're starting off with $5,000 in both portfolios because to have access to margin, you have to have at least $2,000 in the account. You probably don't want to start trying to put all your bills and stuff in your deal if all you have is $2,000 in your brokerage account. That's a really good way to blow it up because you're going to have to use all of it. The other caveat is previously I made a video where I said you probably need 10K. This can work off 5. Like this did work off 5 for them. So the next thing that we want to look at is where the final values of these portfolios end up. Subject A's portfolio, the CAGR is 15% over 4.25 years. That's going up to current. 15% roundabouts. This now subject B going fully invested over here at the Wolfpack. What we're doing, 28 to 35%. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Subject A is still having to pay the same bills as subject B. They live in the same city, in the same county, making the same money. These people both make the same money. I can't stress that enough. Subject A, who's going the Dave Ramsey, the traditional finance plan, has a CAGR of 15%. Subject B is 28 to 35%. Now, this is where it gets real interesting. Your final portfolio value. It's where they talk about cash being king. It's not. It's not anymore. And there's proof in the pudding because the 401k, they're saving. They're saving. They are saving. And you're looking at final values here. The final value for the 401k is $22,500. The final value for subject B, who's staying fully invested, is $85,000 to $110,000 at final value. Which is, there's a lot to be said there, because you're staying in assets. You're completely staying in assets. You get rid of dollars as soon as they come in. All dollars go to work. Now, that portfolio breakdown, having the STRC in there, that is your checking account money, in my opinion, at 11.5%. There's a lot of cash flow in the B's portfolio. That's another thing that's not accounted for accurately, is you're also having yield offset. So everyone's spending the same amount of money, and there are more conservative ways you could do this. I went with probably the riskiest way. Now, I could switch those things out. You could do an S&P 500 blend. You're going to need some high yield in there. STRC I would keep regardless, because that's a no-brainer. But you can work this method out utilizing whatever assets you want. Me personally, my CAGR, my hurdle rate is Bitcoin. And this puts you in the realm of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, we're going based on an average of 30%. If I'm not making 30%, I don't want it. This puts you in 28 to 35%. And that's with the volatility during that time period, because you went through a bull cycle and also went through a massive retracement. Those are, for me, that means a lot, because that's putting you in a place to where you can get out of the matrix. So let me ask one more question. So the next question I'm asking is, with this model, how long would it take to replace subject B's complete salary? And they're projecting 2030 for a total of 7.5 to 9 years based on current numbers. And that's with Bitcoin not going up. That's if they stay at the same job or in the same pay range. That's something to be noted. Now, my personal situation, I've got 15 months left. I started this, what was it, 2 years ago, playing around with this, not necessarily fully invested. I've only been fully invested for not even a year. Not even a year. And I think right now my projection is at 15 months. It's saying next year period. I think my projection is 15 months. And I've been counting them down. But since I've gone fully invested, this is starting to pick up, because everything's coming out of my brokerage account. And I've got a couple of breakdowns of how I'm moving everything into my brokerage account. Debt consolidation, all of that is going there first. Are we still utilizing the money? Yes. But being fully invested, I'm like, well, I got this money. I'm going to have it sit around till the credit card bills due. What if I just put it in my brokerage account, made some money off of it. We're going to talk about that because that's been a game changer also. So what we're looking at is with this model, subject B doesn't have to go to work anymore in 2030 if they don't want to. Like, you can transition out. You wait till 2031, you good. You're going to be making double. Well, not double, but you're going to be making 133% of your salary off your $45,000 salary. Like, these are not it's not risk-free. You're introducing risk. You're also having to be financially responsible, because that doesn't mean that you get to start spending money like a crazy person. That doesn't mean you get to stop being fiscally responsible. You have to be more fiscally responsible, because if you're in charge of the money, that means you have to go, oh, okay, well, I need to direct deposit this all into my brokerage account and then invest it, disseminate it out, portion it out the way that it needs to go. It's on you. You've got to do all of it at that point. So that's something to take into account. But for those, like I said, for those who are a little bit different than the crowd, who aren't following the crowd, who don't want the same results that the crowd has, this for me has been a very viable strategy that I'm seeing great value in and great results. Now, on the credit side of things, we're just now getting set up to where we're getting ready to we're starting to do the debt consolidation. So going into this month of April, we're going to start noticing the change, because like those baseball swings are getting ready to start showing up. Like, that's what we're doing, because I've got a plan lined out that we're going to do over the next few months, and we're going to see how it goes. And, obviously part of it, if you're in a hole, stop digging. So it's like, hey, don't necessarily buy everything. Don't go out every weekend. Go out some weekends, not every weekend. Stop spending all your money. Duh. I already only get necessities. So like, we've already started dialing that in. I'm not the type of person who lines out a budget, especially in this scenario, because I'm putting myself in position to where we're going to have a lot of income and growth, and we're starting to have different things that we can tap into from the growth perspective. Now that our growth portfolio is where it needs to be, we're looking at getting moved over to that. We're also seeing some headway finally on the income portfolio. I had a big cash infusion come in, and that'll be on the monthly finances. Obviously, our monthly videos that'll be coming out next week. You'll get to see all that. We finally broke the threshold of 40,000. We're probably going to be getting close to 50. And that's going to be the next metric. Obviously, I get to switch where my direct deposit goes as soon as we hit the coveted 60,000 mark, which will probably be 61,000, just so that I have like a little bit of headway on there to work with. But as soon as we get to there, we get to move on to the next phase of what we're building out, which is having an account base layer that's going to be focused on handling bills specifically. That's just going to be targeting like, hey, this is a bill. So then we'll be doing content on that. And I do these videos because I think it's important to understand the math behind things and how things work. This is not a channel that's for everyone. Like, I'm not a Dave Ramsey. I'm not going to give you the 2 simple steps. It's like, hey, do you want to not have to go to work for forever? Because like, under 10 years, you should be able to put your nose to the gridiron for under 10 years to change your life, regardless of what age you're at. Like, you can go, okay, cool. Because at a certain point, everybody's got to go through that dark decade. I don't necessarily consider this a dark decade. It's just a decade, because I started doing this, getting ready to figure out how to do this at 25 was when the work started. Actually, like, I started implementing things. When I found Bitcoin, I was prepared, not as prepared as I should have been, but I was prepared to do what was needed. And everything else has been stacking in place since then. This phase of it is the shortest phase, but like, I'm finding the things that work. And like, these are things where it's like, hey, I wish I would have had these options, because these options that we have now did not exist then. So I can't even say like, oh yeah, I should have just been doing this. There was no just been doing this. Like, we did not have high yield in the fashion of what we have right now 10 years ago. When Bitcoin first came out, we didn't have this. Like, I thought I was going to do this solely leveraging Bitcoin and figuring out how to get fully moved over in that realm. But that was going to require me to consistently have to go perform W-2 task or build something or something of the like to generate income. I didn't know about options trading, or learn options trading, or learn some sort of trading. The deal is, as soon as I understood that this can make the income for me that generates the Bitcoin, and I can, the infinite money glitch that Michael Saylor has, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, I can do this and get out of having to go there. So that's what we're doing. That's this entire journey that we're on, this entire wealth journey that I am showing you with my numbers, is that I'm going to show you that you can be out of the workforce without having $1 million. I will have the money glitch running before I have the million. I'll have the million after I have technically retired. I will retire early by all metrics. And like, technically speaking, if I would have got my act together sooner, I could be retiring earlier, like even earlier than this. But everything happens in the time that's supposed to happen in. And that's the reason I'm doing this series, is so that people can see I'm leaving the breadcrumbs. I'm doing the best that I can, but I'm not going to make content for the lowest common denominator, because I'm not the lowest common denominator. That's just not how I think. That's not how I'm moving. That's not how people who break free of the matrix are moving, regardless of what they sell to you on the internet. So I hope this added some value. I hope you guys take into account and like start piquing some interest. Also, all my socials are down in the comments, so feel free to tap in with me if you want to talk about it. I love talking about money, so like, I will answer money questions at all times. Leave me comments. You can hit me down in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Once again, this has been another Bag Talk episode. We're talking about fully invested versus the traditional finance roadmap. I'm your boy, Reckless Ray Dinero, the channel's Future Financial Strategies. Until next week, I'm out. Peace.
Money on my mind, yeah. Focus, got no time for games, nah. I don't play, man, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.